In the last couple of years, the camera industry has been relentless, pushing out new drones, gimbals, and cameras faster than ever before. Each new release promises to be bigger, better, and to be packed with more resolution, battery life, being more lightweight, and whatever. Like almost every new product promises to revolutionize on how you capture the world. Now, I personally can't even keep track anymore. So in this video, I want to play kind of like devil's advocate and ask the question, is all of that really necessary? Now, before we go ahead, there is a giveaway of a video light by Ziyun later in the video. So if you want to win this, just tell me the country you're located in, but more details later. So first, let's have a look at the main problem. In 2024, companies created this kind of marketing cycle that is fueled by consumerism and a narrative that is pushed forward by influencers, and many of whom actually have some kind of like financial interest in promoting the latest gear. So in my opinion, it's not always about what you need, but what they want you to think you need. It's all about creating an illusion that things are super necessary that are actually not that necessary. You see, camera technology in particular, I think has hit a bit of like a dead end in recent years. And that's why I personally haven't bought a single piece of camera gear in like, I don't know, 2 years. Because what I have in my camera bag, I think is quite sufficient for the types of shots that I do and my particular needs. So there is a point where you gotta ask yourself, do I need this particular piece of gear, or is it maybe just a kind of like a shiny new toy syndrome? So unless there is a solid business reason, in other words, your client needs you to shoot on a specific device, or maybe you have to look a little more professional than shooting on a beginner camera, then you gotta think maybe that upgrade isn't essential. Now let's talk about one of the main selling points of camera manufacturers, and that is screen resolution. So since a couple of years ago, camera companies started to kind of outcompete each other with 4K, 6K, 8K, and even more resolution type of devices. But here's the kicker. 4K hasn't even become the universal standard yet, and we are already being sold on 8K. So consider this, most of the content that you watch is consumed on a relatively tiny phone screen where you wouldn't even notice the difference. So you gotta ask yourself, like, who's really benefiting from like pushing all of these boundaries? Does it make your videos like exponentially better, or is it maybe just a bit of like a marketing tactic of the camera companies out there? However, even with all of the hype, I think there are definitely moments when buying new gear actually makes a lot of sense. Let's say you're diving into like a new photography genre and you don't have the right lens for it. Absolutely go for that purchase, honestly. It's all about expanding your skills and not collecting gear for the sake of it. Plus, there's gear out there that might be actually useful and will be genuinely enhancing your work without breaking the bank. So here's what I recommend to all of my friends who ask me about gear recommendations and who want to be a little more serious about photography. I would always invest in lighting equipment before lenses. You see, at its core, photography and filmmaking are all about capturing light. So if your setup lacks adequate lighting, you're going to struggle to get like super vibrant and nice shots, no matter how fancy your camera is. Now, before you rush out to get a new lens, you might want to consider investing in a good light source, and I recommend starting with a smaller RGB light. Why? Because they're quite cheap, small, and incredibly versatile. You can adjust colors to create different kind of moods and effects, making it a super powerful tool in your creative arsenal. And usually it's much more affordable than a new lens, and it can significantly impact the quality of your photos and videos. And I would go so far and say if you have the proper lighting, the camera almost becomes secondary. Now, Zhone is a company that is actually known for gimbals, and they asked if I wanted to test a new gimbal initially, and I really struggled to say yes. Because of all of the things that I said before, I'm really not that fussed about new gear at the moment, and I personally also don't really use gimbals that much. Now, one really interesting thing came up. They recently started to make small lights, and they sent me this bad boy right here, an RGB light that is like super small and portable and very affordable at the same time. They haven't sponsored this video or paid me to say good things about this, and there are quite a few other products out there that do the exact same job, and I highly recommend to pick up this kind of small light. They're super versatile, pocket-sized, and frankly, I think they offer a lot more money than most of the other gimmicks out there. Now, I haven't checked out the particular specs for this one, and I don't want to bore you with all these details, but what I really like about these small RGB lights is the fact that you can carry them in your pocket and it will massively change the mood in your work. Now, this one is definitely super cool, and in the spirit of this video, I don't really need any more new gear, so I'll give it away to someone. So let me know in the comments which country you're located in, and I don't know what your favorite pizza is, and I'll send it to one person. Now let's cut to the chase. More gear doesn't necessarily mean better shots. For me, it's all about making what you have work for you. So when it comes to traveling light and shooting on the go, having some sort of minimalist gear setup is really key for me. In my personal camera bag, everything has to fit into the hand luggage. So I typically bring only one camera, 2 lenses, a drone, and a tripod. And that's the entire kit. So if you have only 2 lenses, I guess the positive side effect is that you have to think more creatively about framing and composition. So the wide angle lens typically covers stuff like landscapes, while a telephoto lens will take care of portraits and more detailed kind of shots. Done. The drone obviously opens up some extra aerial perspective that can complement the rest of my shots. To be perfectly honest, I haven't upgraded my drone since the Mavic 2 Pro, which is now quite old, but it really does the job for me. And my personal setup is all about convenience, and I guess as a positive side effect will force you to push your creativity because you have some kind of constraints. And last but not least, let's not overlook the value in used gear. You would be really surprised of how many people buy a top tier, super expensive camera, barely scratch its surface, and then they end up putting it on eBay a couple of months later. This kind of cycle, however, can be a goldmine for the rest of us. You see, the market is flooded with a lot of cameras and lenses that have seen sometimes quite minimal use, and that allows you to upgrade your kit without breaking the bank. Now take the Canon L series for example. If you buy one of them used, you're not just getting a steal, so you're also investing in gear that holds its value quite well. You can grab them for a fraction of the original price, and even in a few years you can sell them for nearly what you paid for. So it's a win-win. As photographers who enjoy being in the nature, you might also want to think about your environmental footprint with all of these devices. Every gadget we grab without a second thought adds up in the end, and it will contribute and generate a mountain of electronic waste. I know companies claim, yeah, we recycle, but I don't think this kind of stuff gets done efficiently. And in fact, I've never heard a YouTuber in the camera space addressing this kind of thing. So making smarter choices about our camera gear doesn't just help your creative journey, it's also a solid move for the environment, and it's a good thing, but it doesn't mean you have to cut out new stuff entirely. So just be a little bit mindful about your impact, both on your wallet and our planet, I guess. So there you have it, a bit of a reality check on the gear frenzy that we often find ourselves in. If you disagree with me, that's totally fine. Just let me know where you think I'm wrong, and I'll leave a link here to a playlist that you also might find interesting. And with that said, I will catch you guys in one of my next videos.